Welcome councillors, staff and members in the gallery to the July agenda briefing session. The agenda briefing sessions are used to inform councillors on the items of business to be presented and discussed at the forthcoming ordinary council meeting. These meetings are open to members of the public who may request to present a deputation to council relating to an item on the agenda. No decisions are made at these meetings, although councillors can request additional information or alternative wording be provided to allow for motions to be prepared for consideration at the forthcoming ordinary council meeting. Any statement regarding any planning or development application made during an agenda briefing session is not to be taken as notice of approval. Anyone who has an application lodged with the Shire must attain and should only rely on written confirmation of the outcome of the application and any conditions attached to the decision made by council. An audio and visual record will be made by means of live streaming of these proceedings and uploaded to the Shire's YouTube page for viewing. Acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Harvey acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to the land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities and their cultures, and to elders and emerging elders both past and present. Record of apologies and leave of absence. I'm pleased to say that we have all councillors in attendance this afternoon. Declarations of members and officers' personal interest. We have several from Councillor Bromham and Councillor Dickinson. Are there any others, councillors? No?
Sorry, just one here, sorry.
Yes, Councillor Crispin.
It will be the same as Councillor Dixon with the annual budget for the Bunbury Harvey Regional Council, being a delegate on that, sorry.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will now move on to deputations and correction. Before we do that, can I invite Mr. Beach to come forward? I believe he has a presentation to make to council on behalf of the Harvey St John's. So welcome back to the chambers, Mr. Beach.
Thank you, Madam President. It's always a pleasure to be here. I was asked today to make this presentation to yourself and to council. We had it planned to present it at our open day that we had a few, probably 3-4 weeks ago now, but the opportunity didn't arise. So it is a certificate of appreciation, and we sincerely appreciate the support and contribution towards our upgrade. And just to give you some background, and for those councillors that might not have been involved, the Shire of Harvey initially contributed $24,000 as we needed to have a needs analysis and concept drawings done. We didn't have to do that for the first stage because we were using all our own money. We didn't have to have grant money. So we were left a bit short there. That was $24,000 plus GST. Then during the construction, the Shire granted us a $25,000 grant. And through the Alcar Sustainability Fund, we had a $100,000 grant, making it $149,000 in all. The Harvey volunteers put in $343,300. It's the project is totally complete. We totally acquitted the funds. We were able to design and install a museum for all the stuff that we used to use. And it's open to anybody to visit, quite free of charge, just during office hours, Monday to Thursday. So if you want to go and have a look where the money was spent, it's and someone will be happy to show you around, if not me. So on behalf of the organisation that I represent, I'll come down.
You turn that way. Turn sideways. Yeah, like that. Turn that way. That's it.
One more. Sorry. It's like a wedding photo.
I'll do it with the camera. Come on. Yeah. Very good. There we go.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll now move into the deputations. The first one I've actually agreed to read out, and this was received from Miss Amanda Lovett, and it's in relation to item 5.5.1. And Mrs Lovett cannot make it up to the meeting in Harvey today, so I have agreed that I will read out her deputation to council. So I read, quote, "I believe it is time the Shire held a single ceremony and celebration, that it should be held in Australind every year. It is the major population centre, has a great outdoor space with everything needed, with the backup of the LLC available if needed. People in the southern part of the Shire are disconnected, yet form the majority of the population. This will be an increasing issue unless addressed. I support staff taking a proactive stance in reducing costs to ratepayers by holding a single Australia Day event. I would also welcome a change of date, as many other local government authorities have decided upon in recent years. The change of date movement is very strongly supported, and while considering the current changes, this should also be considered as an alternative motion." That is from Mrs Lovett. Okay, I now call upon Mr Beach to come up for a deputation, same item 5.1.1. Welcome back, Mr Beach.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I came today with a bunch of questions, and I believe I've got to make a deputation, so I'll try and turn the questions into a deputation as best as I can. And as you know, this particular subject's very close to my heart. I've been involved some 30 years now with the event in Harvey, and next week I'll probably give a little bit of background to how the events came about. But today, because, as I said, I had a bunch of questions, and I'll just pick them out as quickly as I can. In the summary part of the agenda, it states that the location of citizenship ceremony is to be decided by the Shire President. It was always my understanding under the Act that it is Council who decides the location of the Shire events to be held. Whether that's changed or not, I don't know. In the background, it goes on to say the Shire made a decision to consolidate the Australia Day ceremony into a single event at the beginning of 2025. I'm left wondering whether that was a council decision or was that a round table decision. But if it was, could a copy of the minutes be made available? In the last section of the background, it states, while the decision aligns with operational efficiencies and strategic planning goals, it has been met with disappointment from the organisation committees in each locality. These groups have expressed a desire to retain citizenship component as part of their local event, citing the importance to the community identity and inclusive nature of their celebrations. So that flies in the face of what former Councillor Lovett has just stated. And I'm just wondering, is the community desires and expectations been ignored? In the comment section, it goes on to say, each event requires considerable staffing resources, with 3 staff members working from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. per event, at double time rates. Is the author of the report aware, no, not aware, that the Harvey venue does not open until 5:30 and it's packed down by 10 a.m. So the 5 o'clock to 1 o'clock, I'm not sure where that comes from. The citizenship ceremony is scheduled at 7:45 and is concluded by about 8:10, give and take. The event requires considerable staff resources, with 3 staff members working from 5 till 1 p.m. I find hard to reconcile with the Harvey with the Harvey event. It may happen in Australind, but I'm only speaking on behalf of Harvey. Also states that the Australind event, they need chairs and tables and marquees. It's my understanding that those are already provided, regardless of whether there's a citizenship ceremony or not, for the breakfast. So if we need an extra 20 chairs, I don't see how that can impact upon the budget too much. It's also stated that the public attendance at Australia Day events remains relatively low, with an average of 150 attendees and between 10 and 30 families participating in citizenship ceremonies. I can't argue with the number of families because I don't know. But at a meeting with Mr. Rose earlier in the year, I produced minutes from my committee's final meeting and the 2025 breakfast. 2025, and it clearly shows that our 10-year average is 270 attendees, with the top three highest attendances in that period, 313, 345, and 382. So that average of 150 has been wrongly calculated somehow. The officer states in the report that ideally residents from Australind and so on would feel just as welcome at home attending a celebration in any other locality in the Shire and vice versa. It's difficult to gauge how that conclusion was reached. Now, I have a little scenario, and it's just come to mind that in the event for a particular year that was scheduled for Harvey, say, and the only nominations were from Australind, would it be therefore not appropriate to shift the event back to Australind rather than Harvey, and vice versa? My view is that people should have the opportunity to be naturalised in front of their home community wherever possible. Now, I just want to go through very quickly the cost estimates that were provided, and again, I'm only speaking about Harvey. I can't comment about the others, except to say that Brunswick rarely holds a citizenship ceremony, and I did send a question into the CEO asking, could we get a number of, say, for the past 5 years that we've been there. My view is that it would be zero. I do know we have done them in Brunswick, but how many, I don't know.
Councillor Beach, former Councillor Beach. I did check that, and I have attended one ceremony in Brunswick, and I believe that was in 2019.
Yeah, look, they're very rare, and I take your word, well, of course I take your word for that. That's the information provided, but as I say, it's so rare that I can't remember. But that's not difficult these days. So I was just wondering, and I'll read these out, and we might, and I've got a question at the end if you wouldn't mind. So my statements are really that the event coordination is $4,500, and I'm just wondering whether or not this event coordination is required for the other events that we hold throughout the Shire in the year. I think we hold another 3. Isn't that part and parcel of holding that particular event? And marketing is a very similar question. I thought marketing was expected to promote the Shire and events, and this is a cost of doing business. Support staff, as I alluded to earlier, is greatly exaggerated. On the day, I would suggest that 2 staff members would be required from 6:30 a.m. to check the identities of the nominees, and their work would be completed by 7 a.m. The site setup, we've got $200. No Shire staff are involved in the site setup for Harvey. This is done by volunteers on the day prior. I'm just wondering how that figure was, I'm curious how that figure was arrived at. We do offer pick-up services if there was flowers or certificates and that. We've done that in the past, and we have people running all over the town during the setup period and to call in here to pick up stuff to take over, the flags particularly, and the flowers, plants. I'm sure we can arrange to do that. The photography and welcome to country, is this not a cost of doing business and promotion for our shire and is included in all all citizenship ceremonies during the week? And I alluded to this earlier, the total cost per person based on 150 people, I think a fairer calculation would be based on the 10-year average that I gave to you, was 270. Madam President, councillors, thanks for your time. That's the end of what I have to say. But I would like to request, if it is at all possible, that the figures for Harvey be reworked based on the information I've given you. And if the information isn't readily available within the staff archives, I'm quite happy to meet with staff members to give them what we have. We have records, quite extensive records. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Beach. Yeah, Mr Beach, we might just ask if you can email that through to the CEO.
Email?
The figures and that you've provided.
Yes,
Yes.
sure.
Yeah, and we will have a look at it.
I'll send the whole lot.
Yeah, send the whole lot through. Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, no, I'm
Thank
happy to
you.
do that.
Yeah.
But thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Now moving to the officers' reports. We'll go to 5.1, which is the Chief Executive Officer, 5.1.1, which is the Shire of Harvey Council Plan 25 to 35. Are there any questions, councillors, in relation to the council plan? Councillor Coleman.
Madam President, I just wanted to alert you and staff that I will email them through. I literally have not had time to go through these entire documents over the weekend, but I'm happy to email questions through before the ordinary council meeting next week.
All right, are there any other questions with the council plan? I just had, I think it's out of this, the Shire Vision. Some of the reports back, the reading back was 33% retained, 47% minor change and 20% full rework of the Shire Vision. And the report says it's had strong support. So do we see that as strong support for the Shire Vision, or at some stage do you think we need to go back and have another look at it?
So through the chair, so what we found through the scorecard and through the community workshops was quite similar. So there's overall about a 70 or 80% support for the vision to be the same with some minor changes, but most of that was around clarity and providing purpose to what the vision actually meant, which is why we've opted to go for the strategic pillars rather than the directions, which are, I guess, more like people-centred in the way that they're written. From our data that we received, there certainly wasn't an indication to do a full rework. So we've kept the overall vision title, I guess, the same, which is the Together Towards an Even Better Lifestyle, and then simplifying the objectives underneath that vision to give it more purpose.
Okay, then. Councillor Bromham.
Yeah, I refer to the map in the document in relation to Australand and Leshnord, and I remember at some point in time we moved as a council that the Australand area ended at Buffalo Road, and I wondered why those two areas, even though they might be seen as separate, but the figures of how many people live there aren't put together. It was in planning. I remember like Simon Hall brought it to us and said, you know, that the Australian town site really ends at Buffalo Road, and we passed that through council. So, and the other thing is that an old favourite of mine is that the Kemerton industrial area isn't shown on the map yet, and I wondered why that is, because it is a state facility, and I think from a rating possibility, it might be good to show it as a separate location.
Could I just clarify which page map you're referring to? Is it the
Sorry, 14, yeah.
that one? Oh yeah, on page 15.
That particular map might be a little bit difficult in actually showing the actual boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll ask the staff to have a look at that. Yeah.
I've had a look at it myself, and actually changing it in the program that it's done is not that difficult if you know how to use it, of course.
All right, councillors, any other questions or the briefing that we received around the council plan and all the work? As obviously, you're all happy with it. We have to own this document, councillors, that's all I'm saying. So make sure that you're happy with the content of it. And if there are any questions or whatever, can we make sure they get sent through early to enable staff to have a look at it and be ready for the OCM next week? All right, we'll move on. Thank you. 5.1.2, service plans for 2025 to 2026. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Bromham?
Yeah.
The service plans have been predicated on the level of service that we provide across our business units as a status quo. So if councillors wish to adjust the level of service through the budget, the place to do it is also in these service plans as well, so that they reflect the services that council wants to deliver for the community. Through the officer's recommendation, there is inclusion that any changes to the budget will be reflected through the service plans as presented, so to make sure that they align. So there is the ability for council to make changes through this process, but at the moment it is the status quo.
Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Madam President. I'm just wondering why we've got the council plan and the budget coming forward. Why do we need to do the service plans at the same time? Because, I mean, as you're aware, it's a council decision what services we provide and the level of those services. And this seems to be riding over the top of both the budget and the council plan. So I wonder why we can't defer the service plans for a couple of weeks so councillors have a better chance to find out what services we're actually going to provide.
As mentioned, they have been developed in alignment with the budget that has been put forth to council, and we have mentioned in the officer's recommendation that any changes to that budget will be reflected in the service level plans. So they are, just by the nature of the agenda, put forward prior to the adoption of the budget in the agenda, but it is up to council if they wish to defer the adoption of the service plans.
Councillor Bromham.
Thank you, Madam President. I just reading through this. I went through this in quite detail, and I will provide some information later rather than take up time today. But I just wondered if the older generation didn't know what a touch point is. When I was reading through it, I'm like, what exactly is that? Is it on the screen, or where am I going? You know, I think if we're going to use language, it should be something that everyone should understand, so that it's inclusive.
Councillor Coleman?
Yeah, just one thing, just to clarify, Madam President. The front page says service plans 25-26. Page 4 says service plans 26-27, and then part of the blurb says they're talking about the council plan 2025 to 35. So I'm just wondering if we're being clear enough to people who are not councillors and not familiar with all of these terms. And the service plans, I'm not sure whether it's 25, 26, 26, 27 myself. So perhaps we just need a little bit of clarity around that, which again, I'm happy to put forward in my emails if we can look at having a bit more time to do these service plans.
Is that a questioning out of all of that?
Yes, the question is, can we get some clarity? Is it 25-26, which is on the front page, or is it 26-27, which is on the page 4?
Sure. Through the chair, I would suggest that 26-27 is perhaps a typo. I'll have to look to see where that's directly related to. But the purpose of service plans, and it says so in the framework and methodology at the front, is that it covers the annual budget year. So next year being 25-26, it would be service plans for that year. Yeah, apologies if there was typos in there, Councillor Coleman. There's a lot of work that goes into the document, but we can certainly review that.
And just to note, the council plan is for a 10-year period. So the council plan, as detailed, links through. So we have the council plan 2025 to 2035, and the service plan is 1 year of that, which is aligned to the council plan.
Thank you for that. And look, part of the first bit's a statement, and I think staff have done an awful lot of work on this, and I think it's great, and I think it makes it very clear. And I would just like a little bit more time, having only had 3 days, to have a look at it, really. There is a lot of depth to it, and I really appreciate everyone's work, but I need more time as a councillor to understand that, and I'm happy to put forward, as I said, some email stuff on email rather than take up time today, but I did need more time to review it.
Okay. Councillor Bronwyn?
Yeah, I made a comment earlier when I was talking to the CEO about this around education of the community, and there is another front page. It spreads out what local government, what state government and what federal government are responsible for. But throughout the document, I was wondering if that couldn't be, put into the document as well. So it explained, is that a possibility? I mean, I take staff comment on that particular thing.
Sure, and apologies, Councillor Brummer. Are you referring to the content of the service plans or the content of the council plan? So at the front of the council plan document is whether we advocate or provide. Yeah, so within the service plans, the things that you see within those one-page documents are the things that we provide as a council. So they're, unless it's relating to the actual advocacy that we do, there's not going to be a service for that area unless it's just the advocacy part. So you'll see, say, in the community development service plan or the marketing service plan, there's clear service outputs that describe things that we're advocating for, but if it's not something that we deliver, it won't be in the service plan.
Yeah, I understand that. I just wondered in those advocacy positions, whether we say if it's state or federal, or if we could type of educate people into where those particular things come from, if you understand what I'm saying.
Noted, Councillor Bromwell. Yep. Any other questions, councillors? Okay, we'll move on to 5.1.3, which is the Council Action Register for January 25 through to June 25. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Coleman?
Thanks, Madam President. I did have a couple. I think some of these are typos, but it's actually an action register. So The confirmation of the minutes of December seems to be in progress on page 1 or page 156. The action on page 164 that talks about the Acting Director Sustainable Development provisions for the Mocha visit have been made and are included in the draft budget, and Council can consider further reducing these provisions if so desired. I can't find them in the budget, I'm sorry, so I'll take some guidance on that one. On page 175, the assignee is the accountant. Who's our accountant?
Mr. Andrew Harnett.
Okay. We don't usually see that in here, do we? It's usually director of something or manager of
Or
finance.
Manager Finance.
So we have an accountant. Okay, thank you very much. Just looking on page 180, we were talking about sale of land and its status is completed, but the action is looking to utilise superannuation. So are we looking to utilise superannuation or is it completed? I think there's a little bit of disconnect between some of the actions, and the one underneath it says with legal awaiting possession, but it's completed. So is it with legal or is it completed as an action? On page 181, Madam President, whose responsibility is it, please, for yourself to sign minutes after they've been approved? Is it your responsibility to make sure it's done, or is it staff's responsibility to make sure you do it? Because from time to time, again, we see in progress from some months beforehand. And again, I'm aware of how much work and time load we put into all of this. I'd like it to reflect how professional we really are, rather than perhaps how we look on paper. So just asking that question, because there's a couple in there that waiting signature from Shire President, so I'd like to think that we can get those sort of updated before they become a sort of a public document.
All right, there's a whole lot of questions there, Councillor Coleman.
Yes.
So, all right, did you want to send them through? And the CEO will get a response for you. In regards to the signing of the minutes, the staff provide those to me and I sign them. So I generally come up once a week or whatever. And if they've got anything for me to sign, including the minutes, then I do that. And in regards to the mocker, there is something in the budget. I can't find it at the moment. There is a line item there for mocker. In regards to, I think it's about $10,000 off the top of my head, but there is a line item there for mocker. Sunil might even, he's here, he may even know where that is to put.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. It's
Sunil.
on page number 127. The name has been changed to Economic Development International Relations.
It's undercover. Thank you, Sunil. All righty. Okay, and Councillor Coleman, if you can send those other questions through and we'll get a response for you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, are there any other questions, councillors? Thank you. We'll move on to 5.1.4, which is the Corporate Business Plan 24-25 Quarterly Report for Quarter 4. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Hitchcock.
Hopefully this is a quick one. 2.5.1.6, the action refers to a changing places facility for LLC, but the note refers to that facility that is being implemented in Meriden Park. So I just wanted to double check what's going on with that one.
Susie.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor, for the questions. So, yes, the money that was originally funded to us by the Department of Communities was for a facility at the LLC. However, we knew that we weren't going to be able to progress the LLC upgrades within the timeframes that were required for that funding. So we negotiated with the Department of Communities to have that money reallocated to a changing places facility at Merredin Park. So that doesn't mean there won't be a changing places facility at the LLC eventually, but for this particular funding that we had received, we needed to spend it within a certain time frame.
Questions, councillors? Thank you. We'll move on to 5.1.5, which is the Southwest Country Zone meeting, and this is something that I've now included so that councillors are aware of the minutes from the Southwest Country Zone meeting. So they're basically in there just for noting, but I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. 5.2, infrastructure services, is nil. That's because Mr Faber's going on holidays. 5.3, sustainable development. 5.3.1, which is the proposed naming of public open space reserve. 54790, Meadowviews Estate, Harvey. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Coleman?
Yes, Madam President. I'm just wondering why, and I read the bio and all the reasons why. I'm just wondering why, or if we did consider Freeman of the Shire, John Sayborn instead. I would have thought, because of the reasoning behind that naming of service to the community, I would have thought with the recent passing, or fairly recent passing, of our Freeman, that might have been a stronger contender. Just wondering if we could get some feedback on that, please.
Yes, through the Madam President. Yeah, the name was proposed by the developers. Generally, there's a list of names that are approved already, and generally, if it's in a register or an approved list for naming places, if the developer or another party proposes a name for a park or location that's not on the list, it comes to council. But this isn't driven by the Shire. This is the property developer who has made an application for that name to be used for the park, and it's for council to decide whether or not they agree with that, for that name to be used, and if so, it'll be advertised and then presented.
Sorry, just to follow up, because I'm not familiar with this process. So we can either agree on that name, or we can debate and provide a different name forward. Is that what you're suggesting? That can happen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Capagrego.
Just clarification on that. So the developer has put forward a name. So what you're saying is that council can now nominate another person, another name, sorry, to go in its place? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the decision to go forward with that name is council's. If council don't believe that name isn't the most appropriate name, a councillor can put an alternative motion to present another name. It would then have to go through an advertising process. We would have to consult with the family of that person and with the broader community to get feedback before it was then sent off. Came back to council with the results of the consultation, then was presented. It may not be accepted by the state government. They sometimes will say no, like that name's not appropriate. For instance, if a person's still alive, they won't. But also, if there is another place with the same name and that might cause confusion, they also won't allow that.
So we could have a dozen names up here, in a week's time. Theoretically.
That's true. It's council's decision whether or not to accept.
But the original name that was put up by the developer, and they've gone to all the trouble to do all the work behind it, will be overlooked. I don't think
personally, I don't think that's a good thing. But
Well, we're not
If that's what
debating
the
it
rules
just
are.
yet, but yeah.
Fair enough.
We'll leave that for next week, councillor Capagrego. Councillor Dickinson.
So just following on from that scenario, if council were to put up an alternate name, does the developer have the option to accept or say, because it's their development and they've originally put the name forward, do they have a little bit more say in the name than just it going out to public comment?
Through the chair, we would advise the developer, but no, they don't have the ability to overturn a decision of council. I would suggest, though, that for council to, or a councillor to propose a different name, they would need to provide a justification for why that name was more appropriate than the name that's been proposed by the developer. Obviously, the developer has put a lot of time and effort into researching this, and the councillor putting an alternative name would need to have reasons for why another name would be more suitable.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? Alrighty, we'll move on to corporate services, 5.4.1, which is the annual budget 25-26. I just preempt this one, councillors. If you do have any questions in relation to the budget, best we raise them now so that it gives enough time for staff to do any rewording or reworking of the budget so that next week we have a smooth adoption of the budget. So we've had considerable time to go and review the budget. So councillors, are there any questions in regards to the annual budget? Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Madam President. Number 41302 is the Harvey precinct. And it looks on the budget as though it doesn't state the full costing of the precinct, given that we have a $6.1 million grant expected. And my understanding from our submission is that we need to match that funding at 6.1 million. So one query is does the budget reflect the true cost that we expect the precinct to cost, which I think comes in at 7 mil here instead of probably 11 or 12, and can we reduce our input to 6.1 mil to match it instead of using 7 million? That would be my first question.
The project is proposed to run over 2 financial years, and hence it has been split across those 2 financial years. And secondly, the grant funding has been provided on the grant application which detailed the Shire's contribution. So there is no ability to reduce the value of the project or the Shire's contribution as part of that grant application.
Okay, I note that 40701 includes 2 extra staff in governance. I'm just wondering if we could have an update on the need for 2 extra staff in governance, only given that our proportion of staff to ratepayers keeps lowering rather than, or raising rather than the status quo over the last few years. So just some clarification on that, please.
Ms Williams?
Sure, through the chair. So while they're all listed as governance in the budget, that's just simply how the departments are separated in the budget. One of those officers is a work health and safety officer. We currently only have 1 FTE in work health and safety, so for around 200 FTE, that's probably not significant enough. We've recognised that and we've put that in the plan. The other position is for the communications for council, given the reform changes and the requirement for there to be a communications plan. It's recognised that there'll be likely one or two officers that will need to handle the majority of communications for council. Right now, council have access to directors and managers to answer questions directly under the proposed reforms and communication agreement. That would be channeled through a few officers, and there would be compliance requirements that would need to be managed in relation to that agreement as well. Those reforms are set to be ratified, I believe, in line with the new election process in October, so there's no intention to recruit for that position until we're certain those reforms are taking place.
Councillor Coleman.
Item 45123 is Consultant General, $70,000. Just wondering if we could get an update on that one, please.
Have a page number at all, Councillor Coleman? Oh, we've got it here. One moment.
Page 6.
Sure. Would you like me to get it in front of me? Through the chair, so the consultant general budget is broken down actually into, I think, about 7 GLs over several spaces. So one being a culture and training program for staff and leadership, external strategic communications, I think that's the work we do in the advocacy space. There's also a significant portion for audit, investigations and complaints. So that's in relation to things such as behavioural complaints. That also includes the part of the fee for the development of an audit chair. There's information in the budget notes there as well about marketing support, a business case for development of Lot 8 and the CEO performance review.
Any other questions, councillors, in regards to the budget? Yep, Councillor Coleman.
I don't have the line item, but the promenade that we have discussed previously, we have 250K on budget from our muni funds. We have 500K from the regional road group, I think it is, or R4R, one of those, which I understand we must use. Do we need to revisit using that 250,000 of our own money, given that we have so many projects on the go at the moment, and there doesn't appear at this stage to be a great consensus to redesign that entire promenade road? Is that $250,000 something that we can save this year and look at it when we actually have the staff and resources to do so?
Mr Faber.
Through the chair, at the moment we're actually just assessing that plan just to see whether or not it is something that we'll progress with or not progress with. The plan moving forward is we're currently getting a lot of data on surrounding roads just to see what those road counts are and what impacts that we currently have in that vicinity. Talking with Mr Ketterer today and also with Bruce, who's doing our consultancy work as well, we're preparing and we'll bring something back to council with some updates on those projects. There's 3 projects we've currently got outstanding, and we'll be able to provide some further information on that. It's a little bit complex in that we currently have regional road group funding, so we would need to go back to them if we made that decision to not utilise that funding at this point in time. But at the moment, it's probably, from my perspective, a little bit premature to make that decision. It's probably something in the next month or 2 we'll be able to bring back to council with a lot more clarity and a recommendation on whether or not that should proceed.
So just to follow up, Mr Faber, thank you very much. Can we use just the regional road group funding and not our own muni funds? Do we have to use both?
Yeah, so the requirement is it's a 2/3, 1/3. So for us to be able to utilise their money, we need to contribute as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? I just have one, just in and I did raise this in regards to the CCTV at Binningup Beach Playground, which is in the budget for $80,000. I just wondering what staff's view is in relation to either carrying over that installation of the CCTV until we do the skate park and activate the Binningup Oval area and utilise the funding then for CCTV, or whether there is actually a need for the CCTV to be placed over the playground in Binningup.
Thank you, Madam President. I think that allocation there related to the playground with the sail boat.
Yes.
So we would be ready to do that as soon as council allowed for those funds to be done, and wouldn't have to wait for any construction to be done or anything else.
So my question is though, is there the data around that decision to put the CCTV actually in that location, or is it worth council holding over until we've activated a much larger space, being where the skate park is going and barbecues and playground and the like at the Oval? So is there the actual need for it to go in at the playground now?
Thank you. Misunderstood that question. The data that we were using for the allocation was what went through the Community Safety and Crime Prevention, and definitely council's option if you want us to wait for further detail in relation to activation of the new playground. Definitely that can be on hold if that's a decision of council.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? No? All good. Thank you. So next week it should go through relatively smoothly. Okay, we'll move on to item 5.4.2, which is the financial statements as at the 30th of June 2025. Any questions, councillors? No? Thank you. 5.4.3, payments for June 2025. Do we have any questions? Councillor Dickinson.
Yes, thank you. I have 3 questions, please. EFT 77781, which was for CY Mini Digger Services. In regards to illegal camping and rubbish, could I have an explanation of that, please?
Just wait while staff have a look at that one for you, Councillor Dickinson.
I might need to take that one on notice just to get some further information. Hayden, do you know anything about that one? It's clean up of a reserve.
Through the chair, it was a illegal camper that was on one of the reserves in Binningup, and where they had positioned themselves, they'd used a significant amount of vegetation to create a camp, and it wasn't seemed to be safe for staff to be able to remove that camp, so we engaged a contractor to be able to dismantle it and dispose of all that material.
Thank you. And I raise that question because of commentary that's been out in community pages and in the media recently about illegal rubbish, and so I just wanted to clarify that there is a cost to council for it. My next one is 77790, which was to Complex and Solutions Proprietary Limited, in regards to consultation for land acquisition for Nicholson Street, Cookinup.
Through the chair, that's actually a land administration process where we get a consultant to go through and work on our behalf to negotiate with the landowners to either purchase land on our behalf for us to be able to undertake other works. So I believe that's what that one's for Nicholson Road, which was completed.
So what were the works that were undertaken? Was that to do with flood mitigation, or?
I'm not 100% sure. I need to take it on notice and do a bit of research on what it was actually for.
Thank you. And then my last one was 77800 to GHD Proprietary Limited for consultancy for the Collie River Road Bridge 4930.
Through the chair, so GHD have been engaged to assist us in the process to get all of the legal requirements as far as clearances for different things for the building of the new bridge. So they're quite varied in Aboriginal heritage. We've also had some mussels we need to look at relocating, plus a few other things, native fish that we need to see if they're there. So GHD have been working on our behalf, doing all of that work so that we can proceed with the bridge construction.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? All right, thank you. We'll move on to community and lifestyle. 5.5.1, the Australia Day ceremony. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Madam President. With reference to the deputation you had from former Councillor Lovett, is that, I was a bit confused whether Ms Lovett's talking about the Australia Day event or the citizenship ceremony, because they're almost two different things, one within the other. So are we talking about the citizenship ceremony here, or are we talking about the Australia Day breakfast events held in each town?
Sorry, she was talking about the Australia Day ceremony. Yeah. Councillor Coleman.
Okay, so in the background of this report, it notes that the events are coordinated by dedicated local volunteers, volunteer groups, and it lists, you know, the breakfast committees that are there. So could I have a bit of an explanation, please, on what the 4,500 is for 3 weeks of event coordination for each locality, please? That's the first question.
I would have to take that one on notice. Sorry, got back yesterday, so I'm not quite sure how that calculation was arrived at.
Yep.
Okay, a couple, if I may ask you to follow up, please. The marketing of $1,000 per time, each location has their own banners, etc. So I'm just wondering where the $1,000 per event is expensed, if we could get some breakdown on that, please. The 3 staff for 8 hours each locality, including penalty rates, at $1,200. Could I get a list of the tasks that they're looking to be charging out, please, to the volunteer groups that are running the event?
Councillor Coleman, we're not charging the volunteer community groups for our time. We are looking into the detail of the report, which stipulates 8 hours per event. Obviously, that was written incorrectly, as identified by Mr Beach. Some locations are different to others, so we'll clarify those facts as well.
Okay. A further question? Thank you. In Australind, and I must admit I've only been to one though, usually they don't use a marquee for the breakfast itself, but they put up a marquee just for the citizenship ceremony at a cost of $1,000. I'm just wondering why a citizenship ceremony marquee that's usually only used for maybe half an hour max wouldn't be necessary if the breakfast is held in the open anyway. And similarly, the photography as well, please, just a breakdown of those costs, because, again, the body of the report states that these events are coordinated by dedicated local volunteers. And I'm one of those volunteers, so I'd be very interested to find out what that breakdown is. And, Madam President, if I may, can I ask the reasoning behind why the decision to hold a ceremony should be allocated to yourself alone, with respect, instead of it being a council decision? And I take on board Mr Beach made comparison there of some sort. I can't remember exactly right, but if there was equal number of citizens being done in Australind, Bunbury, and Australind, Brunswick, and Harvey, then there's a great opportunity if it comes to council for us to say what we're going to go to, as opposed to just it lobbed. If they're all going to be in Australind one year, it's a great opportunity for us to go to Australind and be aware of that. I think I'm just wondering why it is felt, why the report feels that decision should be yours alone instead of council's.
Oh, and that's a decision of council. I mean, it can be, if you wish, a decision of council that, in regards to the location. Staff have made the recommendation that it be the Shire President. So that's a decision for council to make if they wish it to come to council. From my perspective, as the Shire President, I prefer the opportunity to do the citizenship ceremonies. I think it's important and it's part of my role, and I would not like to see that be delegated. And I know it can be, but I take pride in the fact, and it's my personal opinion and position, that I prefer to perform the Australia Day or any of the citizenship ceremonies where possible. So I suppose this is part of that decision making, is that it's easier for the Shire President to go to one location and do the citizenship ceremony. Whether I select where the location is or council determines that it should be a council decision, that will obviously be debated, and a resolution will be made next week in regards to that. I'll just go to Ms Hazelhurst first, and then I'll take further questions.
Madam President, thank you. I just wanted to point out that the citizenship ceremonies are actually guided by regulation and by federal regulation. So there are a certain set of rules, if you like, that we have to adhere to. I can't tell you off the top of my head right now how those fit with the questions that you're asking, but we will review those and provide those responses.
Going to go to Councillor Holly. Do you have a question?
I just have a point that you brought there, that you like to go to them and do them, which I think is tremendous. Do you think it's a better option to go to two and split your time over the period of time? I strongly disagree with the letter that came in, and I believe they should be at each centre. Do you think the Shire would get better, for the want of a better word, better coverage by you going to two citizenships with clients in their own area where their families and everything can be there?
Councillor Holly, I'll respond in regards to what's occurred in the past. So there's been a ceremony that's been conducted up in Harvey, and then the Shire President will drive down to Australind. By the time we got to Australind, most of the people that are participating in the Australia Day breakfast have actually moved on. So you're doing a citizenship ceremony in front of a handful of people. It was felt that, this is a pretty special occasion, and it should be done where there's a number of people are around to actually observe it. And it was difficult to achieve that when it is split into two locations, timing-wise. Councillor Crispin.
Sorry, just a couple of questions. Prior to, leading up to it, do we get a couple of months in advance of knowledge of who's actually getting the citizenship to determine where they're going to be based, locations?
Through the chair, it's a bit of a chicken and the egg situation. So we confirm with the Department of Home Affairs where we're going to have the citizenship ceremony, because they have to be able to provide instructions to the people being naturalised as to their invite and how to confirm their details. So we decide, or council or the Shire President decides, as per the policy as it is at the moment, where it's going to be. We provide that information to the Department of Home Affairs. They send back their current address, and you do have to be within the Shire to have a citizenship ceremony here, and they can happen either on Australia Day, which is required. So all local governments must do a citizenship, I think, between the 23rd and the 26th of January now. You can't skip that. And then, yeah, it's organised thereafter. We sometimes have special citizenships if someone needs to be naturalised because they need to get a passport, go overseas, which the Shire President can confirm. And the Shire President can do that because they're actually ordained, from the King through our Governor, State Parliament, and then directly to the Shire President. So in other times where we need to use a deputy, or then the CEO can do the naturalisation, we have to notify the Department of Home Affairs for that to occur as well, and they might agree or they might not agree to that happening. So in particular on Australia Day, it's very much encouraged from the department that the Shire President do both of the ceremonies, and discouraged to do it the other way. And that's because it is a really important day for our citizens, and they want the person ordained to do so to do the ceremony. So sorry, it's a bit of a long answer, but yes.
Reason to it is obviously the location of the people, but I've always, before council, I always assumed people had to go to Perth to do this. So to me, travelling to a designated location set permanently, I don't see that being an issue. However, of course it does. I'll just leave it at that, actually, yeah. Thank you.
I'll go to Councillor Coleman and then Councillor Capagrego.
Thanks, Madam President. And look, I would agree. I think it's pretty special that a Shire President performs that task. I think that's, I just think that that's pretty special. Is that therefore a timing issue? And I was trying to reflect on the Australia Day breakfasts that I've been to. Is it a timing issue that we could make the timing so that you maximise the time at each location? And having said that, and casting no aspersions whatsoever, would a driver be assisting you? Would that be helpful? So what I'm suggesting is, can we logistically organise it better to allow you, as the Shire President, to be able to officiate in different areas in a more timely manner?
And I take that point, but the other side of the coin, it's not just my time. This is held on a public holiday, so we are taking staff out on a public holiday to assist with the citizenship ceremony part. And historically, and this is no dispersion on other councillors, generally there are not a lot of councillors that support the citizenship ceremonies on those particular days, for whatever reason. It's a public holiday and we're off doing lots of other different things, and rightly so, but there's not the support there from councillors as well, and I note that we're going down to 9 councillors, so there's even more pressure on councillors being made available or making themselves available to attend. So if we're in 2 different locations, it's more pressure on councillors' time and their availability on that particular day as well, and also staff. So in short, I see it being easier, and I'm cognisant of all the idiosyncrasies of what's happened in the past and the like in regards to my availability as the Shire President in order to run this citizenship ceremony, the pressure on staff being a public holiday, and also the availability of councillors on a public holiday to support this event. I believe that it would be better to be delivered or run in one particular location. Whether I decide where that location is or council determines they make that decision at each year where it will be held, I see that as probably the best way to move forward. But I'm not going to go into the debate now, but that's my position, and I've been dealing with this now for a couple of years. Okay. Councillor Capagrego.
Thanks, Madam President. What I'm about to say might spark a few things, but who made the decision that it has to be a breakfast? Why is it Australia Day? Why has it got to be breakfast? Why can't it be breakfast at Harvey, brunch at Australian, and lunch at Brunswick?
And
it could be a cocktail party at Yarloop.
Through the chair.
Why is it a breakfast?
Yeah, and through the chair, it's actually because we, as the council, don't run the event. So we provide support to the events that are run in each location. But in Australind, it's the Lions Club and the SES and a few other volunteers get involved there. And in Harvey, it's the Australia Day Breakfast Committee, and it's at the HRCC. So they set the time, and we piggyback on the back of those events to have a citizenship. We could very well hold a Shire of Harvey citizenship ceremony with an Australia Day, whatever we like, lunch, whatever it is. The requirement is, though, that local governments between, I think it's the 23rd and the 26th, have a citizenship ceremony for Australia Day. So irrespective of if there's breakfast at the HRCC or Ridley Place or Brunswick, we have to have that ceremony.
Okay, so the time is dictated by the group who's holding the event. So that if these groups thought outside the box, like I tend to, then the whole problem would go away, because we could enjoy the day and maybe a councillor or a person could go to 4 events on the day if they wished. So I'm hoping that these people are listening and start to think the way I think.
Councillor Bromham.
Yeah, look, I think Councillor Capogrogo's relevant ideas, but I think we've got to be cognizant of staff time as well. I mean, if you're going to run one in the breakfast, one in midday, you're taking people's time away from them. And I think you've got to be cognizant of the fact we've got to look after our staff as well. The other thing that concerns me about this is...
No, we're asking a question, Councillor Bromham. We're not debating it.
I better ask a question then.
Yes.
So my question will be something. My question is, when we look at staff time, how many people are actually involved in the actual process, and what would that mean in relation to their working hours in that week and the costs?
Through the chair, so just for the citizenship ceremony, we do those all the time as a governance team, but we generally have at least one staff member to invite all the guests in. We have another staff member that's clarifying their attendance and taking IDs, and then of course there's the Chief Executive Officer as well. So that's 3 staff members per ceremony, and that's generally, and then if we have the photography or marketing there as well. But for the Australia Day breakfasts, there's been increasing demand, particularly from Australind, in actually helping with the setup for that ceremony, and that ebbs and flows, and we sort of try and provide the assistance that we can. We've gotten grants in the past. Community development also work in that process. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into not just the citizenship, but also the helping and planning for the other events. Yeah.
Councillor Cabaney.
I've just been sitting
Bearing
back
in mind
listening
that
here.
you'll
Thought
have
I
a
better say
question.
something so I don't nod off. And mine's a rhetorical question, and I don't know the numbers, and obviously we've got a diverse shire with many towns, but with Australind being 70% of the shire and probably being 80% in the coming years, be 80% of the shire, the rhetorical question I ask myself is, why wouldn't you have it in Australind every year? Because that's where the majority of the population is going to be. And I can see that's what's going to happen.
Just following on from that question for Australind, so we're talking about community groups, and I know that there's no certainty over the Australind Australia Day breakfast with the Lions Club. So how are we managing that and moving forward, I suppose?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is certainly an acknowledgement that the membership of the Lions Club is an ageing membership, and their capacity to set up a large outdoor event is decreasing, and so there has been more and more reliance on Shire staff to assist. This year, we simply didn't have the staff available to assist. We did manage to get some grant funding, so we managed to purchase labour hire, if you like, but that is not something that is guaranteed every year. The Lions Club has indicated that they're still keen to have an event and would very much like to see a citizenship ceremony as a part of their event. But again, there are those challenges around the capacity of the clubs to contribute.
All right, any other questions, councillors? Councillor Capagrego.
Just a quick question. So Australians will be, let's say, 75% of our shire, and they don't have an Australia Day committee. Have we made any type of roads towards Australian forming a committee like they have in Harvey? Have we planted the seed there, say, look, can you get a committee together? Because we seem to be able to do okay in Harvey for as long as I can remember, and we're only a little community.
That's why.
Yes.
That's why.
It says, I would suggest that there's been no discussion in relation to a Australia Day committee similar to Harvey. If anyone's watching, they may want to. Yeah. Unless staff can add to that, I would suggest there's been no approach. All right. Councillor Coleman, who would have thought there'd be so many questions on this one?
I know. Just following on from the last comment, I'm just wondering, because there's been a wonderful alliance between the Australian Lions and the Leisure Men's Shed, I'm just wondering if it's worth us collectively talking to them, if anyone's a member of that men's shed, talking to them to see if they would be interested in forming that same sort of support. They are very, very active. They're not super ageing at all. They're mature, not ageing. And that would seem to be a really good fit because they work very, very well together already. So it might be worth having those discussions between, again, if they're watching or any of the people in the room are part of that men's shed, might be worth having that discussion to see if they can better support staff. But if that happens, does that solve your issue?
In regards to specifically carrying out the Australia Day citizenship, probably not. But supporting the Australia Day breakfast, maybe. But I'll leave that for staff. I'm sure Ms Hazelhurst has got that noted, and maybe a conversation with the men's shed. All righty. Any further questions on this one? No, I'll move on to 5.5.2, Leschenault Sporting Association funding request update. Are there any questions in regards to this one, councillors? No? All good? Thank you. We have a couple of notice of motions that we will deal with next week, unless there are any particular questions. Councillor Bromman?
Yeah, I just wondered, I'm just looking at this, Councillor Hitchcock's, I just wondered exactly what that is. I wasn't sure. I know it's a bike repair stations, but how do they actually operate? Have you seen them before?
I googled it, John. No, I actually saw one operating in Busselton. A family was using it, and that's sort of what sparked this.
Okay, moving on to the Leschenault Bush Fire Brigade building design and construct. If there's any questions around this one, councillors will move behind closed doors. No, everyone's good. All righty. Who would have thought we'd have so much discussion on the Australia Day citizenship, but there we go. I reiterate, councillors, yeah, if there are any questions relating to the budget, please send them through early so staff can deal with those in preparation for next week. Thank you for attending. Thank you, staff. And being no more further business, I declare this agenda briefing closed. Thank you.